Good cookie. Hello, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us. I am here today with Dr. Vy Simeles. She is a naturopathic doctor and also a licensed acupuncturist. She does energy work and so much more. I absolutely adore working with her and love learning all of the great things that she can share with us to assist us in how we can have the healthiest versions of ourselves with our immune systems and our bodies so that we can be productive out in our lives in a healthy manner. And one of the important topics I find this month is it's January and everybody just came out of the holidays and they've had fun, and maybe their systems are feeling a little sluggish after all the sugar and treats through the holidays. And so I hear a lot of people start discussing cleanses. And what does that mean? A cleanse? What am I cleansing? How do I cleanse it? We hear a lot of these topics of, these fast cleanses, you can clean everything out in 5 days. And if you just drink this water with, I think there's some cayenne pepper or lemon or whatever, and then you're supposed to be all better. But that's what we're here to discuss, is there is a lot of variables when it comes to cleanses and what's right for your body. What specifically are you cleansing? Are you cleansing parasites? Are you cleansing fats? Are you cleansing metals? What are we working on in your body? And how do we flush those properly so that you don't push them from one organ into another organ, and then we have bigger issues that come up. So I'd like to let V take this class today and share with us, and then I will jump back in and give some more information on some products that I've used and a cleanse that I did last year. And if you guys have any questions at the end of the class, you're more than welcome at Q&A time to directly ask any questions you may have. So thank you, and V, it's all yours, my dear.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Celeste. It's a pleasure to be here. Let me share this screen here. So we're here to talk about detoxes and cleanses, like Celeste said, and how to do them safely. This topic is really big, so I tried to condense it and make it as simple as possible. This is kind of the basics about it. And there's so many different kinds of cleanses, so many different types of detox, like Celeste said. We're not going to be addressing every single one today, but if you have specific questions, you can ask them at the end of class or direct them. Celeste, where would they send the questions? They had them.
They are welcome to put them in chat. They are also welcome to send them through Messenger or email, and send them any way that they find to get them to us. Honestly, we would like to answer your question. And if it's not right here in the class right now, if you missed the class and you're watching this as a recording, please contact us and let us know if there's a question that you need answered.
Yeah, we can always answer it later or in another class. And if it's a big enough question, we can just have a class on it.
Absolutely.
Okay. So a little introduction for those people who don't know me. I'm Dr. V, and I'm a naturopathic doctor and also acupuncturist. So I like to use a variety of tools, ranging from nutrition and supplements all the way to sometimes pharmaceuticals. And the whole goal is to educate and give patients tools where they can take responsibility for their own health, and health as a vehicle for them realizing their dreams and their desires and really opening up possibilities for people. So it's a pleasure to be here talking to you about cleanses. It really is the time of the year where people are starting to think about, dietary changes, New Year's resolutions. People are always gung-ho at the beginning of the year to, kind of jumpstart into the new year with a different lifestyle or a different diet. Just briefly, pros and cons. There's a lot of pros to doing a cleanse or some sort of change or detox. It does help you to jumpstart your healthy lifestyle. Usually it's a little bit more intense, and then you kind of use that to move into something more sustainable. It can allow your body to clear out the gunk, whether it's from your digestive system or elsewhere. It can help you to get to feel like you're on the right path. And it can reset your body, whether it's your metabolism or your blood sugar, or even just your digestive system. Giving it a rest or cleaning it out can really help to reset that. Some of the cons that people often find when they're starting a cleanse is that they can be pretty difficult to do. You have to be fairly motivated, or you have to have planned things out pretty well. Some people have a lot of symptoms when they do a cleanse, so it can be hard in some people's systems, and it may not work, if you don't choose the right cleanse for you, or if it's not the right time, or many factors can have it so that okay, great, you did celery juice for a week and that was hard to do, and it didn't really, do the thing that you wanted it to do. So those are some of the just general pros and cons. So just a brief overview of the different types of cleanses that we're talking about. So I see people refer to cleanses all the way from, just kind of minor dietary changes. Sometimes people do like a Whole30, or they think, okay, like I said before, the celery juice, that can be a kind of more gentle type of cleanse where you're doing minor adjustments to your diet. It's not anything extreme. There are programs that people go on where there are certain powders or supplements that they're taking along with whatever the program is saying as far as dietary changes, all the way to a juice fast. So that's where you're not eating anything, you're just drinking juices to get your nutrients in, and then, no food intake. That might be supported by some supplements, etc. Or all the way up to probably the most extreme is a water fast. So that's, you're not eating anything, you're just drinking water. And that obviously, you're not going to sustain that for a long amount of time. So one of the ways to ensure success in your cleanse is to have some self-awareness. So knowing, like, what is your current health like? Are you dealing with a lot of medical conditions? Do you have these other things going on, like heavy metal toxicity or allergies, etc.? Just knowing that basic, where you're at right now in terms of how well is your blood sugar controlled. If your blood sugar is not well controlled, you might not want to do a juice cleanse or a water fast, because that might drop your blood sugar too much. So knowing the state of your body. Sometimes people go into a cleanse because they're dealing with a lot of health issues. If that's the case, it doesn't mean you can't do a cleanse, but it does mean you might want to consult somebody who has medical experience with this. There are medical spas that you can go to where you will be supervised, you'll be tested regularly, and they'll monitor, your health condition as you go through a cleanse. Another thing that you want to be aware of is, what's your current diet like? If you're eating fast food all the time, then, going to a raw food diet or a juice cleanse, it might be really hard on your body because your body's used to eating a certain kind of food. The gut bacteria are used to digesting a certain type of thing. You're suddenly changing and it's really, really drastic. You could have more symptoms. And again, it doesn't mean that you can't do it that way, but just know that you might feel worse than another person whose changes are less drastic. Lifestyle, knowing yourself in terms of the kinds of choices you make, the kinds of, your time frames. Like if your cleanse is going to require a lot of prep, juicing can take quite a bit of time to, clean up and have all the vegetables, and vegetables have to be fresh. So do you have time in your life to do that? When are you going to do that in your, in your day-to-day? And also just knowing yourself in terms of, is this something that I can sustain, I'm committing to, a week or 3 weeks or a month of doing this, but do I know myself enough to say, like, can I do this? Or should I choose a different type of cleanse? So that's really going to help you choose, the right one for you. And also other stressors in your life. If you have like a newborn baby, or if you're taking care of somebody who's sick, like maybe it's not the best time to change everything up in your own life. So just having some self-awareness, I think, is always important in any decision, but certainly when you're taking on something like a cleanse. So some of the side effects kind of broke it down into different categories. Some of the common things that we do kind of expect to happen, and not that it always does, but you can have obviously fatigue if you're changing up your diet a lot, or if you're just not eating, if you're doing a water fast, then you can certainly experience a little bit more fatigue, especially in the initial parts of it as your body is adjusting. Bowel changes. So if you're not used to eating a lot of vegetables and all of a sudden you're eating, drinking tons of celery juice or eating a bunch of vegetables or doing a juice cleanse or something, then you could possibly have, more bowel movements. Or vice versa, if you're not eating anything, you might not have any bowel movements. So just knowing, like, that's likely to happen. And then also being able to evaluate, when is it a problem? Like, is it too much of a change? Have you not gone for 7 days? Is that a problem? So just being aware of your body. As we detoxify, some of the things that can happen that are just normal is your tongue could become more coated. That might mean that you have some stagnation in your digestive system. So you might want to adjust something, or you can kind of just be aware of that as you go out of the cleanse. Body odors, so that is another sign that we're discharging some toxins, is if you have some body odors, that maybe the bacteria in your body is changing, or mucus discharge, so just coughing up more things, etc. Some of the mild symptoms that people feel more uncomfortable with would be things like headaches, dizziness, nausea. Some people go through a phase of feeling flu-like symptoms. As you're cleansing, sometimes it's giving your body a chance where it's not focusing on digesting foods, and it can start taking care of some of the other things that are going on in your body. But as it does that, you're going to need more rest possibly, and your body, as it's cleaning out, can feel a little sluggish. So that can be normal, and it probably is not a problem. If those things continue, if they get really severe, obviously go see somebody. If whatever you're doing is not right for you, you can possibly have things like heart palpitations. That's when your heart feels like it's flip-flopping around, or it's beating too fast. Some abdominal pain, some mild pain is okay, but if it gets really bad, obviously go see somebody. If you have gallstones or a tendency towards gallstones, whatever the cleanse you choose, some of them might cause those gallstones to get worse, or cause some spasming in your gallbladder. So there are some liver cleanses out there that really try to push bile production through, and that can really cause issues with the liver and gallbladder if you have a tendency towards those issues. Again, we talked about blood sugar crashes. So if you are either, diabetic, or you just have poor blood sugar control. So people who are not diabetic sometimes still also have poor blood sugar control. So as you're drinking your juices, it might spike your blood sugar, or if you're going long periods of time without eating, you could have crashes, and that could be a real problem. And we don't want to deter you from doing cleanses. They're really great for a lot of things. So it's just a matter of knowing how to plan for it, having the keys to success. So some of the things that I think are really important are planning, just prepping for it. So some of the things I would think about are, what is your intent in doing this cleanse? Are you trying, is there something that you are trying to cleanse from your body? Like, do you have a parasite? Do you have heavy metals? Do you just feel a little clogged up? You know, maybe you're getting a little constipated because of all the heavy meals you've been eating. Or are you trying to jumpstart a different diet plan? You know, you want to eat more raw vegetables, and a cleanse is a way to get you into that. So just knowing your intent. Are you trying to lose weight? What's your purpose? And then the timing of it, you know, timing it around what else is going on in your life. Also timing it around the seasons. So from a Chinese medicine point of view, the winter is not a good time to start a cleanse. So although people think like January, that's the perfect time for me to do something, I have all this motivation from coming off of the holidays. It's not that you can't do a cleanse at this time. You might just want to choose a more gentle, more moderate type of plan there. So instead of doing like the water fast during this time, you might do that for a day, or you might do something a little more gentle than that. The springtime is a better time to do cleanses, as our digestive system is more used to, you know, in Chinese medicine, we think of spring and summer as a time when digestive function is a little bit better. There's also more fresh fruits and vegetables around. So just in terms of nature and timing with nature, it's a better time when those things are more freshly available. I know we live in a world where everything's available all the time at the grocery store, but that's just when things are more fresh. Making sure you have your meal plan. So if you are doing a kind of modified diet, knowing what you're going to eat every day, how you're going to plan those meals, prepping for it. If you are doing a more extreme type of cleanse, having kind of an entry and exit plan is really important, because you're doing such an extreme dietary change. Your body is going to have a hard time adjusting to that and then adjusting out of that. If you're doing a cleanse and then you're jumping right back into your regular diet, it might just counteract whatever you were trying to do with your cleanse. It doesn't make any sense. Aside from your actual plan of what you're going to do, there are other things you want to keep track of as well, like movement. If you are cleansing, you are going to want to move your body. If you already have daily movement, you might need to adjust the amount and the intensity to how intense your cleanse is. If you're doing a water fast, you probably don't want to do CrossFit every day like you normally do, right? So just making sure you do move your body, but it might need to be more gentle. If you're not moving your body, then you want to add that to your plan. Having support. So that includes having a community around you. You're always going to be more successful if you have some accountability buddies or a community that's doing it with you. Having a health advisor, so a doctor, a nurse, somebody who is well versed in healthcare, who's done it before and can look out for signs and symptoms of when you need to stop, or if things are a problem, or adjusting the plan, especially if you have more health issues. And then other products and therapies. So it's not just about what you're putting in your body or not putting in your body, but possibly saunas or essential oils, whether topically, internally, or inhalation wise, supplements, things like that. So it's not just about the food part of it, but you might need other things to support that plan. And then last but not least, mindfulness. So this is your thoughts about it, your attitude around it. If you are cleansing your digestive system, but you're also sitting there worrying about a lot of stuff, or you're just stressed out, and that's not going to support the actual cleanse. We talk about mind and body being connected. And so as you're cleansing your physical body, you want to also think about mentally and emotionally, what can you be cleansing? Okay, like we said, entry and exit plan. Slow and steady going into it and going out of it, especially if you're doing kind of more of the juice or the water fast. You want to slowly get your body used to, okay, maybe a couple of days leading into it of starting to do more like broths or soups, things that are easier to digest to kind of prepare your body for it. And then as you go out of it, especially, that's the most important part, that you slowly get your body used to digesting solid foods again. So again, starting with the broths and the soups and the easy to digest things, and then slowly adding more foods back in. If you are unsure, moderation is the best way to do it. So not making any major changes, but maybe just adding a juice to your already existing diet instead of only going to juices. And then having an idea ahead of time of what side effects to expect, what side effects are okay, and when you need to quit because your body's telling you it doesn't want to do this. Hydration is extremely important for this. So not only is it going to increase your effective detoxification, but it's also going to control your appetite if you're doing something more extreme like a fast. It's also just a good habit to build. And when we're talking about hydration, we're not just talking about plain water. If you're doing something extreme or you're detoxifying and you're just pounding water, you can dilute your electrolytes, and that can be a problem. So make sure that whatever you're drinking, you're also adding some electrolytes in there, especially if you're doing a lot of detoxification. It's going to use up those electrolytes more. Spring cleaning. Again, choosing your seasons wisely. I think we already talked about this, but it's a good time as you're thinking about spring cleaning that you might also think about adding in a cleanse at that time. So I wanted to just take a moment, talk about cleansing the mind a little bit. So that is, having a more lighthearted attitude during this time. As we are lightening up the diet, maybe also thinking about, okay, where is my attitude needing a shift? Am I being really negative about certain things? And can I have a little bit more grace around that? Can I let it go? The thoughts that you have are really important. So the way you're thinking about your life, the way you're thinking about your decisions. Part of cleansing the mind is just making sure all of your tasks are in order. Do you have a lot of things that you're constantly thinking about because you haven't finished them? So completing tasks or having some way that you can just set aside the things that you haven't completed so that they're not always on your mind. That can take up a lot of energy and then make it really hard for you to actually cleanse. Being in communication with other people, telling people that you're doing this, having them support you through this process. And then even your physical space is part of it. You can be cleansing your body, but if you're living in a disorganized, messy place, or if there's a lot of toxins in your environment, if you're not getting clean air, clean water, if there's a lot of toxic products that you're either using on yourself or in your physical environment, that is going to put a lot of burden on the organs of detoxification. So then that is not going to support your cleanse either. So just had a little, Marie Kondo it, cleaning and organizing. And remember, we've talked about detoxification before in past classes, remembering that all the methods of elimination are working properly. So sweating is one of the ways your body detoxifies. Breathing, your liver, and this is going to be more, we'll talk about the support for the liver in a second. Your kidneys, so that's part of drinking the water, being able to flush things out through your urine, and then your digestive tract, making sure your bowel movements are still working properly. So Some things in terms of products, making sure you have liver support. So that can be bitter herbs or foods, things that taste bitter really help to support the liver in detoxifying, or sulfur containing foods like broccoli, cauliflower, things like that, if your cleanse is something that allows you to eat foods. If not, then you might want to just support your cleanse by doing that before you go into the cleanse, and then afterwards to just make sure everything moves through. Digestive support we'll talk about a little bit more in a second here, but having enzymes to help you break down things, probiotics, making sure you have the right gut bacteria to help you break things down, and fiber if you need it to help move things through. And then emotional support, having that community around you, but also sometimes even just like we talked about at a previous class, having essential oils that are uplifting, like the citrus blends that are really just lightening and uplifting, can be a good emotional support as well. Okay, so I haven't actually used these products, so I'm going to hand it over to either Celeste or Amy to talk a little bit more about these types of products.
All right. Oh, thank you. So these products are from Doterra specifically, and these are the products that I used for my cleanse and have been using for my cleanses in the past. And one thing that I want to make sure to mention is a lot of times people see these products and they're like, oh, I got that, I can do this and I'll take these, and and they go right into it. And as you stated earlier, it's very important that you line everything up properly for your system. So doTERRA's cleanse system is set up so there is a very mild beginning where you prep your body, then you go into the actual cleanse process, and then you do the ending stage where you're wrapping back up gently with the body before moving back into your regular dietary plan. And for example, the reset, the days 11 to 20 there at the bottom, that's a GX Assist product. That is a product that you would only use if you've done the pre-setup for that product. To just grab that product and start taking it and thinking, okay, I'm cleansing my body, could push some sludge into the wrong areas of your body. So this is a whole protocol that they've put together, and anyone that is interested in this is more than welcome to contact me. We have an entire food list that goes with it, the system of how you prep your body, like Bea was talking, with liquids and broths, and then because you're actually taking out the majority of the heavy foods, you're not eating any meats, for example, and so you're prepping your body, and then you slowly add things back in. And that is one thing that I just wanted to also touch bases back that V mentioned earlier, is knowing your body, what your intentions are, and being very prepared. I felt very prepared. I had, my food list, and I had all my products. I knew my schedule. I had it all lined up. What I had not taken into consideration at the time for myself is I had just done my food allergy and intolerance testing. And so when I got my list of foods, for me, half of those foods became unavailable to incorporate during my cleanse period. And so I was like, oh, no worries. There's plenty of other items I can work with. Well, I'm not a person that has a lot of extra weight on my body generally. And so I lost weight that I was not intending to lose. And at the end of my cleanse, I actually had to readjust the last 4 or 5 days because I had lost too much weight, and it was becoming a threat to my health on another level while I was cleansing my body. So I'm from Idaho and I love my potatoes. So I snuck some potatoes in there at the end just to make sure that I didn't lose any more weight in those last few days. So it's very important to pre-plan your meals for the period of your cleanse if you are going to be intaking any kind of food, and knowing exactly what those are and what that might create for weight loss. Now, the person that I had partnered with in my cleanse, she was super excited because she wanted to lose weight. So she's like, this is fantastic. And so it really depends on your body. And it's really important that while you're doing the process, that you're keeping everything flush, but also keeping those probiotics boosted in your system so that you have the right enzymes breaking down what you have in your body already and the things that you may be intaking during the cleanse period. So anyone who has questions about these products, please reach out to me directly. And I can help you get these products in your hand and into your home and teach you how to use them properly for your body.
Yeah, that's really perfect. We're all different. Our bodies are all different. Something that works for one person might not work exactly that way for another person. I was doing a celery juice cleanse. It was a slightly modified diet that's close to my normal diet, but I was just adding celery juice at the beginning of the day. Like there was that whole craze. And I was like, well, I should try it out and see how well it works so I can speak knowledgeably about it when people ask me about the celery juice cleanse. Well, it turns out my body does not like celery juice. I have a slight allergic reaction to it. I have a latex reaction, and I think there's something about there's like a cross reactivity with that and avocado, I found out. So for me, it did not do well. Like I started having, my lips were swelling up, so I was able to recognize this is not going to work for me. Doesn't mean it wouldn't work for other people, but for some people who have a latex allergy, it might be a problem if you're drinking that much celery juice. For my partner who was doing it at the time, she had a great time with it. She was like, oh, I'm pooping great and I'm feeling really good. So it works well for some people and not for others. And then I had one of my teachers who, she's a doctor. She's really knowledgeable about cleanses and fasts and nutrition and all of that. And she had a health condition going on, and she thought, I should do a fast because she knows how to do these things. And it turns out when she talked to somebody who specializes in a medical facility who does fasting, they said that her medical condition does not agree or line up well with the fast that she was trying to do. So even though she's very knowledgeable generally about these types of things, for her specific medical condition, it didn't work, and it really did require some additional expertise in that. So be careful if you're doing something really extreme. You really should consult somebody who has done it before, who knows what they're doing, who knows how to manage whatever is coming up. So
absolutely.
Yeah, just being aware of yourself. Yes, Amy.
Yeah, so two things are coming to mind. So since your body doesn't agree with celery, I'm curious if it would agree with the celery seed essential oil that we have, right? Because they said it is definitely for digestive, but not to put it in your mouth because the aftertaste is just like, wow. But you can put it in a gel cap,
Oh, okay.
So
it just goes straight down.
Yeah, so you're just doing one drop in a gel cap and wonder how that would react with you, because it's different. You're not getting the protein from the actual celery, and you're getting just the
Anyways, probably would do okay with that. Yeah, because generally I do fine with celery if it's like in a soup, if it's in normal food, it's fine. But when you're juicing, it's like a whole stalk of it, it's like a whole bundle of celery in order to make a tiny juice. So I think it's just the amount of it was too much, it's too concentrated. I don't know what it was, but yeah, I would try that. Recently I started doing just a couple drops of the lemon essential oil in water in the morning, just kind of jumpstart the day and help my body, clean out, and also just hydration in general. Sometimes drinking water by itself is not very tasty and is hard to do. So having that extra, little zest is a nice way to start the morning.
Yeah, I love
I just want to add in something really sorry about the lemon. Something that's super powerful about the lemon oil is because it doesn't have all the acids from putting fresh lemon in our water. A lot of people, you go to the restaurant and you're like, oh, can I get some lemon in my water? I'm not saying that that is, bad, but also consider your acid levels in your body, teeth issues. If you're drinking fresh lemon every day, that could actually be hard on your teeth and your enamel. It can create too much fiber perhaps in your system. So the lemon oil is a great way to just, get that flavor in your water. And plus we know that we don't have to worry about who washed their hands, where the lemon came from. We know it's pure and just saying.
Yeah, Celeste really educated me about lemon and limes at restaurants.
Yeah, you don't want to put them in your water.
Kind of gross.
And another thing too is if you're adding like grapefruit and lemon to your water, it's just a little bit more of a super scrub to ourselves, right?
Yes. Like the grapefruit's really nice.
I love that. I do have a question for you, if my dogs will be quiet in the background. Okay, so I get it, everybody's body is very different, and cleanses are good. I definitely agree. They should do a cleanse, right?
Yeah.
So, but I have a scenario for you and I'd love your information.
All right. Yeah.
I have a gentleman who works out. He's in good shape. He does watch his water intake. He does eat right. He's probably like, I'd say mid-30s, somewhere around there, right?
Okay,
but has crazy insomnia.
Oh.
And so, I've been working with him with vetiver and Serenity and the Serenity capsules and wild orange, right? But it's not enough for him. He's still having to add like a sleeping aid. And so I suggested maybe doing a cleanse. Like, would you suggest the same thing? Do a cleanse, because he said he does do them. Stop it.
Oh, great. It's fine. Not that destructive.
Or would you have like even a different protocol to suggest? I'm going to turn me on mute because my dogs are loud.
So it's hard to say because I don't know all the ins and outs of his story. Insomnia can be hormonal, it can be emotional, it can be something physically going on that's keeping you up. So part of it is making sure he's eating earlier in the day, not eating too close to bedtime. I advise my patients typically to have their last meal at around 6 p.m. or earlier if they can. So to be done eating by 8 for most people, if your bedtime is, like 10 or something, 7 or 8 is a good time to stop eating. So that might be part of it. A cleanse, it's not going to hurt him, I don't think. It sounds like he's pretty healthy and it's worth a try. Just decreasing that digestive burden to allow the body to focus on other things. But if he's already having a pretty healthy lifestyle, then I would look more in the mental, emotional sphere or spiritual sphere and see, is there anything going on there that's keeping him from being able to relax and rest? People who, my mind's like going in a million directions right now. Like, what are all the reasons? And physically, sometimes when people have like parasites or exposure to mold or some sort of extreme toxicity in their body, then that could keep them up because their body thinks they're under attack. And that makes it hard for your body to actually rest and regenerate because it thinks it needs to be prepared for fighting all the time. Mold, especially if there's any mold, especially around the sleeping environment. I had a patient who was having a lot of issues and every morning would wake up and just have all the like swollen lips and eyes and sinus issues and whatever, go throughout the day, be totally fine, and then go to sleep, wake up the next morning and have it all happen again. And it turns out that the wall behind her bed was just filled with mold. And so every time she was sleeping, she would get exposed to all these mold toxins. And then as she's moving around the day away from that moldy wall, it was fine. And mold toxins are a big neurotoxin. They're really toxic to the brain. So your brain thinks it's under attack.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Another one too, Amy, is I've had a couple of people that I worked with that were having severe insomnia, and I asked them to turn off all electronics in their home, including their cell phones, for an entire night, and modems, everything. They reported that they did have a lot better sleep after that. And one person found that their apartment complex had just installed a huge box of some sort that was basically feeding the internet to the whole neighborhood, and it was right next to their apartment.
Oh, wow.
So there are some other things too that might be, I always ask people, let's just try a night with all electronics off.
Yeah. Yeah. Get an alarm clock like the olden days.
Yeah.
Put your phone away from your bed, which is so hard to do when you're just so trained to have that cell phone right by you.
Right next to your head. Yeah. I always try to put it on the other side of the room. It's also nice for me personally. I do still use my phone as an alarm clock, but if I put it on the other side of the room, that motivates me to not just stay in bed and press snooze. Like I had to get up and go get it.
So true.
It's also a nice trick to like actually get out of bed when you say you will.
Yeah, it's true. Instead of having 3 alarms set, and by the 3rd one, you're really got to get up. But set one and walk across the
actually
room.
Just get up.
Yes, get up. Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you. I've been kind of going around, touching base with some of those things, but I think also, I need to ask them about the mold or possibly even parasites. So now, is it true if you have, I know when my kids were younger, and maybe it's because their skin was thinner, you could actually see like little squiggly lines underneath. Like one kid had parasites and the other one didn't, right? You're like, you just have to do this to get rid of it. It's normal. But is it true for adults too? Like if they have little squiggly lines underneath their eyes?
I haven't seen that so much, but sometimes if you have a really dark spot under your eyes, could be parasites, could be allergies. Certainly there's something going on that needs to be looked at.
How do you know if you have parasites? Like,
sometimes it's easy to know because you're having, abdominal cramps and bowel movement changes, like suddenly you have tons of diarrhea or what have you. But parasites have also evolved with humans to hide out in your system and, live off of you. And so sometimes you don't really have a lot of symptoms. I think the most definitive way to know is to do a stool test. But you can also, try a cleanse and see how you feel. And if you're feeling a little bit worse because you're starving the parasite, starving whatever's in your body when you're doing a cleanse like that. If you feel a lot worse on a cleanse, then there might be something else going on in your digestive system that is unhappy with you. You're starving it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. This has been very helpful, Dr. Vy. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any other questions or any other comments?
I'll just one more comment. We just had a class last week with Dr. Damaris in Texas, and he was talking about parasites and stuff, and just kind of to let people know a little extra information about parasites. As we said, they can be very sneaky. They try to become symbiotic with our body, even though we don't want them to do that. And so we may not know. Now, one way that might show where people wouldn't know to look is parasite eggs hatch around the full moon. And I find it interesting that around the full moon is where we see a lot of unusual behavior. If you talk to people in the police force or the hospitals, They get a lot more calls around the full moon with people just having odd behaviors, perhaps. And that could be possibly a result of parasites in the body. And because of that, it is very important to time your parasite cleanse before the full moon so that it wraps up.
You just muted yourself.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that you're getting rid of all the eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually
All
with
right,
parasites, it takes a few rounds because they do have their little dormant phase where they have really good ways of protecting themselves. So you like sometimes we'll do an anti-parasitic pharmaceutical. So this is strong medication to get rid of parasites, and it still won't get it because they're in their little like crystalline phase. That's just, it's immune from anything getting in there. So you sometimes have to do a couple of cycles of it if you have a parasite to really get it out.
That makes sense for sure. So for someone who doesn't follow the full moon stuff, how do you know when it's coming?
Oh yeah, you can
Other
always
than
look it
call
up.
my
It's like,
friend Celeste and say, dude, when is the next one?
yeah, so it's really easy to look up, if you just look up full moon cycle,
True.
it happens about every 28 days. Usually like
Oh.
a lot of women, their cycle will sync up with either the full moon or the new moon, which are about 2 weeks apart. And so you can kind of, especially if you're really in tune with the seasons and nature and stuff, like if your body is really aligned with that, people's cycles will sync up with that. It's about 28 days.
Oh, that's good to know. See?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Which is, so very cool. So if you are considering a cleanse, then to look when the next full moon is and start around there. Why not? I mean, it's beneficial.
Yeah, it's really timing. And I had a quote at the end of the presentation about nature, and it really is, the healthiest way to live is to be in tune with the rhythms of nature, the seasons of the year, the timing of the moon. Like we evolved with nature, and we are part of it. And so being more attuned to that really helps our bodies as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Amy, did you have any other questions?
No, not right now. I mean, great class. I loved it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, let me know if you have any other topics that you want to hear about.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. Sounds good. And we'll take requests from anybody else. So if you're listening, just put some requests, send it to Celeste or Dr. V or myself, or put it underneath wherever we post it on the page.
Thank you for joining us. And I apologize to those of you that are watching this as a recording. I got a message that the Zoom link had a digit off. So some people were able to log in today. I absolutely send my apologies for that mishap. We will make sure that is correct every time moving forward. And if you have questions,
it's the same one every time, right?
Yes. And the 6 or a 7 and a 4 got swapped.
Oh no. So, okay. Well, sorry for the people who wanted to join but couldn't. Luckily, it's recorded, so you can watch it online after. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Great.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.